You're my favorite doll. We're best friends, aren't we?
Jake was a playboy, living a carefree life, frequenting bars and clubs, always on the lookout for his next conquest. One late night, Jake spotted his target at a bar. This girl looked plain, with pigtails and a plaid dress, like a student, but her large, dark eyes were striking, like those of an anime character. Jake felt lucky. Other playboys in the bar seemed oblivious to her. He wasted no time making his move, and luck was on his side. He succeeded quickly. The only odd thing about the girl was her cold demeanor and reluctance to speak, but Jake didn't care. The girl mentioned her boyfriend was out of town, so they decided to go to her place. In the car, she gave Jake her address, 456 Maple Apartments. Jake hesitated for a moment, remembering that he had a troublesome encounter with a girl living in that same building 6 months ago, which ended badly. But the thought vanished quickly under the influence of beauty and alcohol. Everything went smoothly. Afterward, the girl went to shower. Suddenly, Jake heard a key turning in the lock. The girl rushed out of the bathroom, locking the door from the inside. The person outside, sensing something was wrong, began banging on the door. The girl glanced through the peephole and said,
"Hold on, Mike, I'm showering."
Then she turned to Jake and whispered,
"My boyfriend's back."
Jake panicked and hurried to dress. The room was small with nowhere to hide. Glancing out the window, he saw a ledge leading to the neighbor's balcony. He pointed to the window, signaling his escape plan, and the girl nodded. Jake climbed out carefully, but then he felt an unexpected nudge from behind. The girl lay back on the bed, a serene expression on her face, murmuring,
"Master, I've avenged you."
When the police arrived, the neighbors explained that a girl used to live there, but had tragically taken her own life 6 months ago. Her parents, unable to bear the memories, had left the apartment locked and untouched since then. The police entered to find the room neatly arranged, covered in a layer of dust. On the bed lay a large doll with pigtails, dressed in a plaid dress and possessing those same striking anime-like dark eyes. Henry is a retired old man whose peace has recently been shattered by noise from the Airbnb upstairs. Every night just past midnight, the guests upstairs start clomping around in boots for about half an hour, driving Henry crazy. What puzzles Henry is that the guests never stay long, but the midnight boot walking habit never changes. Is it trendy for young people to wear boots now? Recently, a young guy moved in upstairs. He rides a motorcycle and always looks tired. Every day when he leaves, he's always wearing a pair of shiny black leather boots. Every night after midnight, he too clomps around in boots for half an hour. Henry has confronted him many times, starting with polite requests and ending in arguments. The guy always looks like he has a reason, but never explains. He keeps doing his thing, and Henry keeps enduring the noise. One night, Henry couldn't take it anymore. Around 3 or 4 in the morning, he quietly went downstairs and started tampering with the guy's motorcycle. His hands trembled slightly, but his anger fueled him, keeping him steady. The next day, Henry was on edge, watching the local news. He saw a report about a young man who ran a red light on a motorcycle and crashed. Henry felt a bit relieved, thinking he'd finally have some peace. But then, the screen showed something that made his heart sink. The guy wasn't wearing boots. He was barefoot. That night, Henry still couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about those boots. Midnight came and went without the sound of the motorcycle engine, and Henry relaxed a bit, thinking it was all in his head. But then he heard the familiar clomping above him. Each step seemed to pound on his heart, raising the hair on the back of his neck. After a while, Henry gathered his courage and crept upstairs. The door was ajar, and the room was dark. Through the crack, Henry saw no one inside. Just a pair of boots, walking around by themselves. Just then, the boots seemed to notice Henry. They turned and started walking toward him. Panic surged through him and he bolted downstairs to his room. But as he reached his door, he realized with horror he had forgotten his keys. John sat nervously across from Emily, unsure of what to say. To mask his discomfort, he kept taking sips of water. Emily, sensing John's resolve, lowered her head, tears streaming down her face.
Do you really not love me anymore?
Emily, please.
John replied, trying to sound calm.
We've broken up.
He wanted to say more, to offer some comfort, but his eyelids grew heavy. Sleepiness washed over him like a tidal wave. Emily had laced his water with a heavy dose of sleeping pills. As he slipped into unconsciousness, the last thing John saw was Emily approaching him with a scalpel, its cold, sharp blade glinting ominously. Emily, a nurse by profession, meticulously stitched up John's wounds. Her skills were perfect, but the damage she'd inflicted on his legs was permanent. John would never walk again. Emily laid her face against his chest, just like she used to when they were in love.
Don't worry, my love.
She whispered.
I'll never let you leave me. Someday you'll love me again.
In his drugged haze, John barely registered her words. He knew then that Emily had lost her mind. John awoke to find himself in a padded basement, his legs completely immobile. Rage and despair churned within him, but his cries for help were muffled by the soundproofed walls. The windows were fortified, and the door secured with a keypad lock, impossible to open without the right code. Emily had thought of everything to prevent any escape or self-harm. There were no sharp objects, no gas, no ropes. After every meal, she even took away the utensils. Days turned into weeks. John's initial fury morphed into a cold, detached indifference. The only time Emily left him alone was when she went shopping. Each time she left, John would wheel himself to the keypad, painstakingly trying to deduce the 7-digit code from the sounds the keys made when Emily entered it. One day, John succeeded. The lock clicked open, but as he stared up the basement stairs, he hesitated. He wanted Emily to pay, to suffer for what she had done. Reporting her might not result in the justice he craved, especially if she was deemed insane. His gaze dropped to his crippled legs, and a wave of sorrow was swiftly replaced by seething anger. John rolled back into the basement and shut the door. Revenge would be his. Over time, John had feigned insomnia, convincing Emily to give him sleeping pills, which he secretly hoarded. When Emily returned, she found John's lifeless body sprawled on the floor, a note clutched in his hand. Dear Emily, by the time you read this, you'll have closed that keypad door, and you will realize the keypad no longer works with the old code. Yes, I cracked it and changed it. You must be wondering why I didn't escape. When you crippled me, I vowed to make you pay. Now I will. You will watch my body decay, trapped here until you starve, unless you can guess the new code. But don't bother, I punched it in randomly with my eyes closed. Good luck, John.